Hi, we're happy to be here at the studio of the famous photographer Vincent Versace. Hi Vincent.
Hi.
Please give us a little introduction of yourself.
Okay, my name is Vincent Versace. I'm a Smithsonian Laureate for Innovation. I'm a BenQ Ambassador and a Nikon Ambassador, which means that I have been granted photographic immunity. I don't take bad pictures. And by the power invested in me by BenQ and Nikon, you no longer take bad pictures either. Epson Stylus Pro, I was Nikon's first beta site, Epson's first beta site. Heavily involved with Nik Software, Altamira Group, which invented genuine fractals. Traveled all over the world, taking pictures of stuff.
What inspired you to become a photographer?
Well, my photography journey started when I was 7 years old and my uncle Frank was stuck having to babysit me and was a wedding photographer. So he took me into the dark room and showed me the magic of photography with the, the magic hand dance. And then put a picture in the developer. I watched the latent print materialize, got a whiff of fixer and stop bath, and I was hooked. And I sold my first picture when I was 9, which always sounds way more impressive than it was. And what it was a photograph I sold to the local newspaper. And I got $50. So you're 9 years old, 50 bucks. It's like add 5 zeros to it as far as the kid's concerned. So yeah.
So you started at 9 years old?
Well, I started taking pictures when I was 7. I bought my first camera in a yard sale.
And what brand was that camera? If you still recall.
Oh, I do recall, and I wish I still had that camera because I had a Nikon rangefinder made in occupied Japan that sold for a lot of money in auction, and I paid 10 bucks for it. I'd saved my allowance up and bought the camera, and I sold it to buy my first Nikon F. And at the time, it was a good deal. My most iconic?
Yes, most iconic.
It's a photograph called Paris in Snow. It's the cover of my last book.
Oh, okay.
It's a photograph of the Eiffel Tower in a blizzard, which is something that doesn't really happen in Paris, and I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time. And the story behind it's a pretty funny one, which I've posted up on the web.
So you are also an author, right?
I have written 3 books.
Yeah, can you show us and talk a little bit about the books you've written?
Well, somebody will.
Your assistant.
That one there, that's the latest one.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you. This is my most current book, which is From Oz to Kansas. Almost every black and white technique known to man. I'm in the process of negotiating either rewriting it as a paper book or redoing it as an ebook. It's a book on the journey I went through for black and white conversion and how to take a color image and make it chromatic grayscale. And the whole discussion of what you need to understand to be able to maximize the most amount of information from a color image to abstract it into a chromatic grayscale image.
I'm guessing this book must have been very well received because I see it's been translated into different languages.
Yes, it has been translated into Mandarin, Japanese, Spanish, Indonesian, German, and of course English. The most difficult part about being a photographer is getting out of your own way. I mean, one of the things I've never understood how or why people make it as difficult as they do. And I think part of that is from a perspective of just having done it since I was 7 years old. And the lesson that I learned about getting out of your own way is I went to acting school. And the biggest problem I had becoming an actor was getting out of my own way, making something that we do naturally difficult. And in my observation of working with people over the years, the biggest problem is getting out of your own way. So you can look at somebody else's work and you can know if it's good or bad. Why is everything that you make not good? So getting to the point where you can look at your own work and accept that you've taken something that's pretty and allow yourself the joy that you had at the moment that the picture took you. That's probably the most difficult thing about becoming a photographer, is being able to look at your work without ego and know what is good or bad about it based on the merits of the image not on whatever issues you have about art.
What about the most satisfying part of your work?
The most satisfying part of my work is when I look at the pictures, right? I know what happened at the moment that they took. And so when I look at these pictures, they're just like little snapshots of memories. And when I watch somebody look at my work and they get taken the same way I was, that's satisfying, because the most compelling part of being a photographer, particularly when you do street work, is that the journey's not like this, the journey's like that. You get pulled through the lens. And if I do my jobs correctly, if I'm successful at it, what it is my goal is to make it so that when you're looking at one of my images, it's as if you were standing in the same place I was the moment the picture took me. And if I can give you that feeling, then there's a lot of other things that have occurred. I've told the story of that moment, I've told the story of that place, I've told the story of that person as they took me. And I can, for a moment, give you that hit, that feeling, you know, that gift. Because the greatest gift you can give anybody is a memory. And so my pictures for me are just gifts, because they're just memories of these great moments I've been allowed to have through no fault of my own, by having a camera, walking around the planet, and people allowing me to take pictures and seeing pretty things in front of my camera. Joseph Sudek, Jay Maisel, Karsh, my uncle C.J. Elfont, huge influences on my work. Maisel and Sudek, big influences on my adult work. And the most formative photographer was my uncle Chuck, C.J. He taught me basically the core of the way in which I compose and work. I grew up in film, and I was taught, I was a large format photographer for most of my youth, teens, and 20s. 4x5, 8x10. For me, 35 millimeter and 2 1/4 were just, they were cameras that I carried with me, but when I was going to do serious art, it was, you know, big set of sticks, camera that weighed more than I did, you know, 2 shots at a time. And the way that I was taught as a printer, black and white was the primary way that I shot, the way I saw. I did a 2-step development process and all sorts of craziness. Zone system photographer, and my whole world has been about black and white. I evolved into color because digital became all about color, and for a long time you could not manifest a black and white image unless you printed it in color. And it hasn't been until the advent of the ink sets that Epson's come out with, I think, in black and white, that make an incredible black and white image. One of the lessons that I've learned in digital, one of the advantages, the huge advantages, is that I can shoot the image in color, and then I can use the color channels to be able to pull the different interpretations of the same data to produce the most incredible images. And I'm a better photographer because of the technology. There's this belief, which I believe in, that it takes 10,000 hours to attain mastery of something. And with film was 1, 2, 3, 4. You've spent $20. And you won't know until you process the film whether or not you got anything. So in 4 seconds you spent $20 and you don't know if you got anything. So how many times are you going to do that? How many times are you going to shoot 1, 2, 3, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, things happen at the speed of life. And what has happened with digital is I can shoot 128 gig card, I can shoot thousands of pictures so that I can find the most telling moment. I can build an image in which I can have multiple focus points on. So what I can do is I can take a picture we're about to be visited.
So can you tell us a little bit, share a little bit with us about monitor usage in photography?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The thing you have to understand is with digital, you wind up needing to know more about technology than you ever needed to know with film. With film, it was all kind of figured out for you, and it was very limited in the scope of expertise. With digital, the more you know about how it all operates in the middle, the better off you are, the more informed decisions you can make. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that the monitor is the way in which you interface that image. Once the image is taken, or is taking you and is captured on the camera, you're looking at it on an LCD monitor. But that monitor is not calibrated, and you don't walk around doing this. Hey, like the picture, keep the camera, it's my gift. You have, that's not it, but everything you see is this monitor. So when you get it to the computer, that's your darkroom. That's the digital darkroom. So the more you understand how that all works, the more informed your decisions can be. Now, it's a system, and the system has to be calibrated all the way through. So you need a monitor that gives you what the printer can print. I have a printer that can print 106% of Adobe RGB at 2880 DPI. So what do I need? Well, to get the best story, the best information, I need a high resolution monitor, 4K, and I need Adobe RGB colors so that I can see what it is that I'm going to get. Okay, so the monitor for me is the way in which I interface with that image. I need that monitor to be able to give me everything, or as close to everything that I'm going to get when I make the print. I need to be able to see the difference in shadow detail. I need to be able to see if I'm having noise issues. I need to be able to see what the artifact is. So if I'm working on a monitor that's of lower resolution and lower color gamut, the problems there are I have a 360 DPI file, a PPI file, with a 72 to 100 DPI screen on a 2880 DPI print. I've got pixels and dots. So even though those are interchangeable, they're different. A dot's a dot, and a pixel has luminance and prominence and contrast and all sorts of other things. So it contains more information, but it's at a lower resolution. So if I have more resolution, what I can see is what it is I'm going to get when I print. And I'm of the belief that the best photographers in the world are always the best printers. But the best printers are not necessarily the best photographers. And that's something Ansel Adams said. I can't take credit for that. But if you want to improve your photography, you need to improve your printing. And if you want to improve your printing, you need to have a better monitor. And if you want to have the whole thing, it has to be a calibrated system from monitor to print, which means I can take the profile of the printer and I can see it on the monitor. So what I see here is what I'm going to see there. I'll print on paper somewhere that runs up to $60 a sheet. I don't want to make 20 prints. I want it to be right, correct, and done when I hit Command P. The only way to do that is to work with a monitor that is capable of that, and one that is capable of being calibrated to the nth degree.